They do not want you to be focused. They seek to distract you, to lead you into endless scrolling, into reaction, in search of meaning. After all, a person who has learned to control their focus becomes dangerous. They are not loud, not emotional, but precise. And it is this precise person that frightens them. Machiavelli understood what most men today forget. Everything begins with where you direct your attention. The more you care about the opinions of others, the more you become theirs. The more you concentrate on your own path, the more they become yours. This is not philosophy. It is war. Every opinion you chase, every argument you engage in, every trend you follow drains your power, and in the end, you become the noise yourself. The world does not drown you out. You sink in it, and that is why focusing on yourself is not an option. It is a weapon that redirects your energy back, not with emotions, not with anger, but with strategy. Let others react. You observe. Let them explain. You act. Let them shout. You think. Focus is not isolation. It is dominance without noise. It is managing your mind before someone else does. If you are tired of leaking energy into the hands of fools, write this down. My silence builds empires, because from this moment, your attention belongs to you and no one else. First, distraction is the enemy that smiles. The main enemy of power today does not come with a sword. It arrives with notifications, with headlines, with a blow to the dopamine, designed to make you feel instead of think. They do not need to destroy you. It is enough for you to keep scrolling, because a distracted person will never become dangerous, Machiavelli warned. He who controls people must first control their minds. Today, they do not control you with chains. They use algorithms, bait, and noise. And the moment you react to every little thing, you hand them the remote control to your brain. Every time you pick up your phone without purpose, every time you chase another trend, another opinion, the approval of another person, you are destroying your mind. One part here, another there, until there is nothing left to build your empire. The world wants your focus to be cheap. Your task is to make it expensive. Guard it like a fortress. Cut off what drains you, even if it once entertained you. Even if it once seemed like a connection, because true power does not need to be seen. It must be concentrated. If you are tired of trading your mind for noise, write below, I guard my focus like a weapon. And remember, the person who protects their attention protects their future. Second, isolation is not weakness, it is sophistication. They will say you have changed, that you have become cold, that you have become distant, but what they really mean is that you have stopped being available for their chaos. You have begun to build in silence, and that frightens them. Machiavelli understood this well. A wise person must learn to be at one with their thoughts, not because solitude is easy, but because strength is born in silence. The world praises the person who is everywhere, but fears the one who disappears. When they return, they come back 10 times sharper. You do not avoid people. You avoid noise, chaos, and emotional pollution. Every second you spend explaining can be considered wasted. Your results will speak louder than your presence ever could. Strategic isolation is not retreat, it is restoration. While others broadcast their lives like radio waves, you vanish from sight. While they are busy talking, you are recalibrating. While they chase attention, you become the one who attracts it without doing anything. If you have ever felt the desire to both disappear and change, listen to that. Respect it. If this is your path now, write it in the comments. My silence is sacred because when you return, they will not recognize you. Third, the one who reacts first loses. Strength does not shout. It observes, waits, and calculates. But a weak mind reacts instantly, emotionally, and loudly. This is all it takes to lose everything. One failed reaction, and you are hooked. They provoke you not because they do not care, but because they want to see if they can still control your emotions. Can they still pull the strings in your mind? And every time you flinch, argue, or over-explain, you confirm their superiority. You become predictable. Machiavelli warned that the first method of assessing a ruler's intelligence is to look at the people surrounding them. But in the modern world, we assess a person's strength by how unflappable they remain in chaos. When they cannot read you, they fear you. When they cannot provoke you, they lose their leverage. Your silence becomes a mystery to them, your calmness, a threat. Because people do not know how to deal with someone who does not yield. You must train your emotions like a soldier. No reaction unless it serves your strategy. No outburst unless it is in the interest of the long game. No explanation unless it grants you power. Everything else you keep inside, allowing them to wonder, letting them drown in your tranquility. This is why most people will never achieve real strength, because they are dependent on reaction, dependent on proving their correctness, defending themselves, arguing. They want to be understood. But the Machiavellian person wants to remain unsolved. If anyone has ever lured you into defending your calmness, write that in the comments. I am not here for reaction. I am here to rule. And remember, the less they know, the more they fear. Fourth, the most oriented person creates leverage. Leverage controls everything. In every room, there is a person who speaks and a person who listens. One is trying to prove something. Another one gathers information, measures weaknesses, reveals emotional cracks. Guess who wins? You do not need to dominate every room with words. You dominate by controlling what controls everyone else. Attention. Your self-centeredness is a forge. Every hour you spend honing your mind, controlling your time, increasing your value, you are not just growing. You are accumulating leverage. Quietly, coldly, patiently. Machiavelli was not fixated on justice. He was obsessed with control. And here is the harsh truth. People respect only what they fear losing. When you become a person who cannot be manipulated, a person who does not need others' approval, a person who leaves without a single word, you become irreplaceable. This is true power, not noise, not popularity, not false charisma. It is psychological influence built through obsessive self-discipline. Want influence? Then disappear for a year and return 10 steps ahead. Let them laugh in your absence. Let them doubt you. Let them forget about you. Because when you return with results, they will remember you differently. They will speak less and listen more. And not because you changed your tone, but because you increased your value. Self-focus becomes so powerful that it is not about being better than others. It is about becoming so rare, so composed, so deeply concentrated that they cannot even compete. If they try, you do not fight. You simply exist above them. Let the crowd chase significance. You strive for excellence. Let them argue over status. You create essence. Let them demand attention. You make your absence valuable. Because when you learn to focus on your inner world, you will stop bargaining for your worth externally. If you build your empire in silence while no one is watching, say now, my focus, my throne. Because the world bows not to the loudest voice, but to the calmest mind with the greatest influence. Fifth, kill the need to be seen. Most people do not chase power. They chase attention and confuse these two concepts. They want to be seen, heard, praised, recognized. But here is the dark truth that no one talks about. The more you need to be seen, the easier you are to control. Because you are not dangerous when your self-esteem is tied to noise. You are predictable, and a predictable person will never be powerful. Knowledge is a leash. A quiet, shiny leash adorned with likes, emojis, applause, and compliments. It does not choke you. It seduces you. It makes you believe you are winning while leading you where they want. Think about it. The algorithm is designed to feed you praise when you are obedient and withhold it when you are authentic. This is not recognition. This is manipulation with a gloss. Machiavelli did not play this game. He did not need the applause of the crowd. He needed control, influence, results. And he knew one thing clearly. The more you depend on others in your own self-worth, the less you actually have. If you need their opinions to feel important, you have already lost the battle for your mind. This is a harsh reality, and most will never break free from it. People walk around starving for approval, unaware of how much they have exposed themselves. Their confidence dies with a single negative comment. Their energy crumbles when they are ignored. Their mood fluctuates based on the reactions of others. This is not personality. This is programmed behavior. And if you can be programmed, you can be broken. But there is another way, a colder, lonelier path, yet the only one that leads to true strength. You must learn to find validation of your worth through action. They find it through words, through silence. They find it through selfishness, through progress. They find it through praise. This is the Machiavellian approach. The less they know, the more they fear. This is where your inner transformation begins. When you do something difficult, do not tell anyone. Let it build up inside you. When you take a step, do not announce it. Let it be a surprise later. When you achieve success, do not chase after congratulations. Let the world feel your absence and then be amazed by your return. Strength is not in being visible, but in being undeniable without effort. Understand this. Those who need recognition never create anything real. They are too busy performing, too busy adapting, explaining themselves to stay in control. They become puppets, smiling when praised and breaking when ignored. Machiavelli is never the loudest, but always the one who cannot be ignored when he finally acts. There is a price for silence. People will misunderstand you. They will assume you are arrogant, detached, devoid of emotion. Let them think so. This is the price of power, because those who need recognition will spend time correcting every false impression. But those who know their worth remain still, while their enemies expend energy trying to decipher them. You must become a ghost in their system, not present, but always felt, not shouting, but always on the horizon. Your actions unsettle them. Your stillness irritates them. Your focus frightens them, because you do not need to be noticed. You need to be effective. This is why most people remain stagnant. They become dependent on being noticed before they do something worthy of attention. They want praise before progress, love before discipline, followers before they have built a foundation. But this is not strength. This is an illusion. And illusion is the enemy of every strong mind. You must break this dependency and tear it away. Destroy it, replacing it with an obsession for mastery. Become invisible for a while. Let your mind grow in the dark. Let your work be your affirmation. Because when affirmation comes from within, no one can take it away from you. At the moment you stop needing anything from the world begins to need everything from you. This is how the shift of power occurs, how the lever of influence is formed, how legends move, calmly, purposefully, and always 10 steps ahead. If you want to challenge yourself, remain silent for a week, then for 2 weeks, then for a month. Observe who will seek you out. Notice what falls apart without your constant presence. See how much stronger your mind becomes when it is no longer interrupted. Your focus sharpens, your emotions stabilize, your actions become surgically precise. This is what the world fears. Not the person who speaks loudly, but the person who disappears to build and returns without permission. The person who does not need applause because they are building empires in the dark. You must kill this craving. The craving to share before it becomes reality. To show the plan before it is executed. To celebrate before you have won. This is the virus of the modern individual. They confuse attention with achievement. But the person who follows the principles of Machiavelli knows the difference. That is why they succeed when everyone else is exhausted from pretense. And when those around you see who you have become, they will ask, how? How did you manage to grow while everyone else was merely putting on a show? How did you manage to evolve while we were explaining ourselves? How did you become untouchable without ever raising your voice? And your answer will be silence. Because true growth does not need explanations. It simply comes. It transforms the space. It speaks without sound. Write this down if you have started to detach from the game of public perception. I am not here to be noticed. I am here to be independent. Because the person who no longer seeks the gaze of others becomes the shadow that controls all. Discipline is a fortress. Control time. Control the game. Weak people wait for motivation. Strong people act by a system. The untouchable person does not wake up hoping to feel ready. They decide to be ready every day, without emotion, without excuses. Because in the game of power, discipline is not a lifestyle. It is a fortress, and time is your only true currency. Look around. Everyone is busy, but no one is effective. They chase goals without routine. They expend energy without direction. They confuse activity with progress, but not you. Not if you are here. You are not here to be busy. You are here to master time. And this begins with mastering the invisible structure of your days. Machiavelli did not speak of calendars or to-do lists. He spoke of control. Control over people. Control over situations. But the first battle he demands to win is control over your hours. Because if you cannot command your time, you are already a tool in someone else's hands. Time is where power lies hidden. Most people never touch it. They wake up whenever they feel like it. They move only when life demands it. They are slaves, not to chains, but to a particular absence of structure. Yet Machiavelli is sharp in their minds. Cold and unyielding, its edge is honed in routine. Your discipline must become sacred, understated, quiet, not displayed online, sacred. You wake up not for a challenge, but because your mission requires it. You train your body not for appearance, but because weakness is vulnerability. You master your schedule not for productivity, but because chaos belongs to the powerless. This is how power is quietly built. Every controlled hour is a brick. Every completed task is a weapon. Every routine you refuse to break becomes a wall between you and the mediocrity that once pursued you. While they chase comfort, you seek control. It is not about being perfect. It is about being predictable for yourself. When your body knows what to do before your mind can resist, that is when you have surpassed weakness. Then your day becomes an extension of your will, not a reaction to your mood. Freedom without structure does not exist. The freest person is the one who has mastered limitations. They do not waste time on randomness. They have rituals, systems, cold precision. These habits eliminate confusion. They mute fluctuations, destroy the need for external power. People hinder themselves by diving into chaos. They set goals but lack sustainable behavior to achieve them. That is why they fail. They chase motivation like children chasing fireflies, hoping it will return tomorrow. But it does not. Because motivation is for spectators, while systems are for kings. To dominate, inspiration is not needed. What is needed is to do what is necessary, regardless of how you feel. That is discipline, and it is unattractive, unglamorous, not fun. But it is what distinguishes a person who lets time slip through their fingers from one who uses it to carve out their throne. Machiavelli would say it this way: do not wait for the world to gift you a crown. Create the hours, and make the world move on your time. The more structure you create, the less chaos can penetrate within, and the more orderly your inner world, the less the outer world can disrupt it. Time is a battlefield. Most are unarmed. You come prepared, hour by hour, choice by choice. You wield time like a sword, cutting away the excess. Eliminate the empty chatter. Guard your morning hours like treasure. Use evenings for reflection, not escape. Sleep like a king, rise like a warrior, move like a ghost. Temptations will always be there. Distractions that scream louder than your plans. But you already know. Chaos, the enemy, noise, the trap, emotions, the thief. Your strength lies in not negotiating with any of them. You must make your routine heavier than your excuses, so when your feelings try to speak, your actions have already begun. And this is the secret: mental strength. It is not about thinking more, but about thinking less. Because your system already knows the way. Ultimately, your discipline becomes your essence. You no longer force yourself. You become a completely different person. Someone who does not need pressure to achieve results. Someone who does not need chaos to move forward. Someone who does not explain their habits. Because their results speak louder than any excuses. And here is the ultimate truth. When they realize that you do not waste time, they will understand that you do not waste energy either. And that is what makes them fear you. Not your voice, not your presence. It is your consistency, your order, your routine. This is your weapon. This is your fortress. This is your proof. If you are no longer interested in motivation and you have chosen mastery, write this in the comments. I do not follow motivation. I follow a code, because from this moment on, you do not just manage time. You dominate it. 7. Emotional detachment is a weapon that they will never notice. The most dangerous person in any room is the one who feels nothing but sees everything. They do not react. They do not flinch. They observe with cold, surgical precision. While the world expects you to be vulnerable, Machiavelli would teach you to be impenetrable. Emotions are not the enemy, but reactivity to emotions is a weakness. Once someone knows what affects you, they have gained power over you. Once they see that you flinch, they adjust their tactics. And once they understand that they can make you explain yourself, the balance of power shifts. You win, not through feelings, but by separating feelings from decisions. When they shout, you listen. When they insult, you calculate. When they try to provoke you, you remain calm. Because silence in the hands of a focused person becomes a weapon sharper than any blade. Machiavelli understood the weakness of emotions in the hands of those who seek power. He wrote that people are driven by two things: love and fear. But being frightening is much safer. Why? Because love requires feelings, reciprocity, and softness, while fear requires nothing. It respects boundaries. It submits to silence. Therefore, emotional detachment is not numbness, but an immunity to manipulation. You do not eliminate your emotions. You learn to control them. You decide when to feel and when to fold your emotions like a weapon in a cloak. Carry them, but do not display them, and look around. Most people drown in their reactions. They speak without thinking. They argue without understanding. They burn bridges, confusing their pulse with strength. But an emotionally detached person does not burn anything. They allow others to burn themselves, remaining unscathed. Want control? Then detach. Not in anger, but with strategy. Stop arguing with fools. Stop trying to be understood. Stop reacting to every change in someone's tone. Your calmness is not weakness, it is control. And they will never know what to do with it. This is what distinguishes an ordinary person from the elite. An ordinary person is governed by their emotions. They respond to messages when provoked. They raise their voice when they feel disrespected. They seek closure. But an elite person quietly closes the door. They leave not because they are weak, but because they know that the battle is not worth the energy spent. And this is not a theory. It is training. You must learn to sit in discomfort. Feel anger and do not act. Feel insulted and remain silent. Feel abandoned and do not chase after them. Because every time you resist the urge to react, you sharpen your mind. You become the storm they did not expect. Power is clarity, and clarity cannot exist in a reactive mind. Detachment is a way to disperse the fog. It is a way to see people as they are, not as you hoped to see them. When you detach, you do not lose feeling. You gain vision. You see through manipulation, through despair, through false praise, and you stop confusing noise with love. Most men crumble because they are still born of emotional comfort, from those who bring them pain. They seek closure from liars. They want recognition from traitors. They want understanding from the crowd. But the man of Machiavelli does not want this. He wants results, not reconciliation. You do not need to prove your worth to those who could not see it. You do not need to explain your silence. You do not need to force yourself to win emotional wars. You rise by remaining unattainable. You elevate yourself by allowing fools to fight while you build. And the best part is, when you become detached, people notice it. They see your change. They feel your calmness. They do not know what you are thinking. And this mystery makes them anxious because a person they can read, a person they can predict, is not frightening. But a person who says nothing, shows nothing, and reacts to nothing terrifies them. In the end, they will test you. They will push, provoke, and try to break the silence. Do not move. They will ask why you have changed. Do not answer. They will throw emotional bait. Ignore it. You have entered a new phase where peace is achieved through strength. They will feel pity if you truly want to rise to a new level. Detach yourself from the past, from old stories, from people who only understand you when you are weak. Detach from that version of yourself that always needed explanation, justification, and proof. That version dies today. When you move calmly, they think you have lost your emotions. But in reality, you have gained power. The world does not reward the emotional. It rewards those who are composed, those who do not chase drama, who are not afraid to walk alone, who do not fight battles beneath their purpose. And when people say you have become cold, let them say it. When they say you have changed, that is fine. This means that they can no longer manipulate you. They cannot predict your actions. It means that the version of you they had power over has vanished. So here is your choice. Remain reactive and be manipulated forever. Or step back and become someone who cannot be touched, someone who cannot be provoked, someone who cannot be read. If you have begun to master the silence within, if you have felt yourself moving away from chaos, write this in the comments now. Detachment is my strength. I feel nothing. I lose nothing. Because when you no longer react, you rise above. Loneliness is the place where you become dangerous. Most people run from loneliness. They call it solitude. They fear the silence. They feel uneasy when no one is writing to them. When the room becomes quiet, they feel small, vulnerable, forgotten. And this is where they crumble, not from the oppression of the world, but from their own fear of being alone. But let me tell you something. Loneliness is not a punishment. It is a cleansing. It is not a place where you lose yourself. It is a place where you find that version of yourself that no one has seen yet. A version that does not depend on voices, attention, or approval. A version that does not need an audience. Because it is too busy becoming something dangerous. You cannot build true strength in noise. You cannot gain clarity surrounded by people who drain you. And you cannot develop your mind when it is constantly distracted by 10 different directions. Loneliness removes all of this. Distractions fade away, and only you remain, loud, real, and uncomfortable. This discomfort is the beginning of your rebirth. Machiavelli would not have advised seeking company when your mind is weak. He would have said to retreat, not to escape, but to gain clarity. He would have suggested stepping away from the crowd, to become someone who is feared for the silence they can no longer understand, and to create a life that does not need explanations. Most people try to heal in the company of those who broke them. Therefore, they never grow. They are always available. They remain emotionally vulnerable, and thus, they remain under control. Machiavelli and the individual disappear, not to complain, but to sharpen their minds, not to cry, but to calculate. They do not disappear. They transform. Loneliness is not a weakness. It is a resistance training for the soul. It teaches you to be at one with your thoughts, not allowing them to destroy you. It forces you to confront the raw version of yourself, the one you hide behind distractions. And when you face this version, you will gain something rare in this world. The greatest possession is that you must learn to be emotionally self-sufficient. You must become your own anchor, your own voice of reason, your own source of strength. Because a person who does not depend on anyone in their inner world is someone whom no one can destroy. And this is what they will not tell you. Your enemies hope that you will never learn this. They hope that you will remain needy, reactive, easily provoked. They want you to cling to relationships, check your phone, explain your silence. Because if you fully embrace solitude, you will become unattainable. In solitude, you begin to hear the truth. Not opinions, not distractions, but the truth about your habits, your weaknesses, your patterns, and most people run away from this. Because confronting it means change, discipline, giving up comfort. But this price is only paid by the serious. That is why your solitude should be strategic. Do not just isolate yourself to hide. Isolate yourself to build, create a system, strengthen your body, study your mind by analyzing your surroundings, and rid yourself of dependencies. Every day in silence should be a step towards strength, not an escape. And yes, they will talk. They will call you cold, distant, strange. They will not understand why you are searching. Let them wonder. Because when you reappear, they will realize that you were not avoiding them. You were surpassing them, silently, completely, without a single warning. Ah, a lion does not announce its hunt. It disappears, observes, studies, and then returns. Faster, sharper, deadlier. This is what solitude creates. While they chase attention, you chase harmony. While they seek comfort, you seek clarity. While they need a crowd, you need only your discipline. Strong people are not afraid of solitude. They need it because they know that it is in solitude that the plan is written. It is there that weaknesses are burned away. It is there that the mind becomes organized. Emotions obey, and the goal becomes clear. People often say they do not want to be alone, but in reality, they are already lonely. Emotionally abandoned by those around them, spiritually disconnected from their purpose, mentally imprisoned by others' opinions. What they fear is not solitude. They fear the silence that will reveal the truth. Allow silence to unveil your true essence, and then correct it, not for them, but for yourself. You owe it to the person you can become to destroy every version of yourself that wastes time. Every version that is dependent on people, on noise, on false purpose. Let those versions rot in isolation. While you transform into a weapon, and do not confuse solitude with stagnation. In a world of people who build in silence, progress happens without applause. No one sees you rise at 4 a.m, how you work until dawn, embrace cold showers, meditate, endure setbacks. No one needs to see because results do not require validation. They demand respect. This is what happens when you turn solitude into a weapon. People return, curious, puzzled, drawn to the change. They feel how your energy has shifted. They sense your presence, now more defined. They see how your boundaries have sharpened. You speak less, but they listen more. You show less, but they feel more. And when they ask what happened, you reply, nothing. Because true transformation does not explain itself. It becomes the answer to every question raised by your silence. So what should you do now? Disappear tactically, intentionally, for 90 days, not from the world, but from the noise, from the confirmations, from the distractions. Take back your hours, master your emotions. Let people think whatever they want. Because what you are building is not for them to understand. It is for them to feel. And when you return, you will walk differently. You will speak more slowly. Your eyes will not dart around in search of approval. Your voice will not tremble when called upon. Because now you know exactly who you are. You have become someone whom the world cannot define, cannot manipulate, cannot weaken. You have become your own power. And here is your next step. Build your strategy room in solitude. Plan your steps without announcements. Grow without their praise. Refine yourself without the eyes of others. And when the time comes, act without hesitation. If you are ready to turn solitude into a weapon and transform in silence, write in the comments, "I am disappearing to evolve. I am returning unrecognizable." Because when you are no longer afraid to be alone, you become someone everyone fears in silence. The 9th point. Evolution is the final blow. You have been quiet, focused, alone, but not broken, recovering. They thought you disappeared out of weakness, but they did not see how the old version of you died, and how in its place weapons were forged. Now you are different, not louder, not angrier, just colder, sharper, without fear. Not because you have become numb, but because you realized how much energy you were wasting trying to be understood in a world that rewards manipulation more than truth. You no longer need revenge, because now you understand the truth that Machiavelli followed. People need either to be nurtured or destroyed. In modern terms, this means that you either protect your peace or eliminate everything that disrupts it. There is no middle ground. You used to seek explanations. Now you seek silence. You used to prove your point. Now your results speak for themselves. You used to ask the world. Now you are the storm. This is what self-focus does. And persistence kills the old version of you and creates a new one. The one that does not explain itself. It simply dominates. This is not cruelty. It is a process. You no longer seek understanding. You do not apologize for outgrowing the weak. You do not allow betrayal to penetrate your circle just for the sake of a false connection. After all, strength does not diminish. Strength does not seek validation. Strength observes and acts with clarity. You have mastered solitude. You have turned silence into strategy. You have stopped reacting, stopped explaining, stopped bending for those who would never do the same for you. And in this discipline, you have become unreadable, unstoppable, untouchable. Let them whisper. Let them question the changes. Let them try to manipulate as you have already learned in silence. This time you do not respond because